everyone, and welcome to the channel. It's Monday night as I record this, and that means it's time for a new Storybook Brawl patch. If you're new to the channel, you may notice that the time of this release for the time of the release for this video has changed. I'd been doing them kind of off the cuff and without first reading the patch notes to give you a blind reaction. Unfortunately, and probably predictably, I'm too dumb for this, and it's led to maybe not the most complete or insightful analysis of the changes. So we're going to change things up, give you a more polished and informative video, and we're going to release it the next morning in place of my regularly scheduled gameplay video. If you enjoy this kind of content, please be sure to show it some love. Press like, subscribe, leave a comment. If they continue to underperform, I am going to stop doing them, so I just want to give you fair warning and let you know what you can do to keep it around if you want to see these stay on the channel. Getting into things, patch 0.59.1 has arrived, and unlike last time, it's not full of meta-warping balance changes. There's a few, but the story here is more about the new features that they added. And while some of us old-school beta testers like myself aren't going to notice too much difference with a couple of these, they seem to really target that new player experience, so I am all for it. The game is doing well and growing as far as I can tell, but we can always use some love and use some ability to help draw in and entice new players and keep the new players grinding and participating and playing. So let's get straight into the specifics and talk about the free hero spot. After this change, the first hero will always be one of the available to everyone, owned by everyone options of Geppetto, Krampus, Mrs. Claus, Jax Giant, Horde Dragon, the Fates, Merlin, and Pup the Magic Dragon. But now the second hero slot will be randomly chosen and playable for everybody, whether they own the hero or not. Slots 3 and 4 will continue to function as they do now. A random hero is presented, and if you want to use that hero, you have to already own it or purchase it at that time. This is going to give players some variety while they grind the dust to purchase the entire lineup, and it's also going to allow players the opportunity to try a hero before they purchase it. I think this is going to make for a better dust grinding experience and a better dust spending experience as well. I also think it's very notable that there will not be a selection choice possible that has less options available to a free-to-play player. And I think that's the key defining factor here and what makes this a really great change. Next, they've increased the fairy dust rewards for all finishes except for first place, which still gets 100. I'll let you read on the screen now, or in the patch notes, which are linked in the description below, what the exact changes are to each finish. I didn't really know we needed this, but I was able to grind out my heroes pretty quickly on my main account, and now I've started doing it on my second account, so I do feel the loss of those unlocked heroes when I make that switch. I think what this will primarily do is make it feel more attainable to grind and unlock everything and all heroes after they've started to release new ones, and as the cast of heroes grows larger and larger. Either way, I don't see this affecting me at all. I plan on getting first place in every lobby I ever play in, ever again. So if you want more dust, just be better at the game, forehead. Alright, all jokes aside, let's move on to the actual balance changes that were included. Starting out, we've got Lucky. Used to be a 2-2, now it's a 3-2. He's got a really great ability to him, but he's just always a liability on the board. He doesn't even have the ability to trade with a lot of two-drop units, which really, I think, hurt his viability across a variety of different comps and circumstances where you might consider buying him. Hopefully this gives him enough of an onboard impact that I'm willing to spend the money on him, as I think his ability can provide a really meaningful upgrade over the next couple of turns. Next, we have Doom Breath. A 6-6 in the 6-drop slot just wasn't cutting it, even if it did attack the backline as well as the front. Often overlooked, especially now that the cat book comp is gone and the importance of attacking the backline has diminished, it just felt impossible to pump him up enough that he was worth the investment of 6 gold. He also pretty much has to attack from your first position spot, which I think really impacts his utility and usability. So hopefully this stat bump kind of makes up for some of those drawbacks. Personally, I think what this card really needs is dragon synergies other than a 2-drop treasure. Something I do think we'll see happen organically as the game gets developed, new cards get released, or sets, or however they're going to do things. Dragons will be expanded upon in the future. Next, we've got some spell buffs. Kidnap now gets an exact copy of the first character that dies next brawl. This works just like Gloves of Thieving now. I think it's a significant buff to this spell late in the game, and I think it's a reward to players that are doing a good job of, I mean, you can't really scout in this game, but when you see players remembering what they have, if you're able to remember who's contesting your builds, who's contesting your cards, using a Kidnap at exactly the right time might give you the good boy that you've been needing for a long time, or something to triple, something along those lines. It's going to be really swingy for you if you're smart about how you use it, and you get the luck that you need and the right minion dying first. Next up, we have Mix-A-Wizzle. Still stinks. It's just brutal to warp your entire team comp for random characters that cost 1 more. And even now that it's 2 more, I don't think this is something you're going to want to really do too often on purpose. But I think what's nice here is that when Loki casts it on accident, it's going to be much more reliable and much less devastating for the Loki player. And hopefully it does maintain that kind of Hail Mary option of, hey, it's a 1v1, it's the last round. I can't beat that. No matter what I do, there's no spell that lets me beat it. So let's just reset my entire comp, try to roll 4 good boys and see what we can do. That might sound like a joke, but it's something I have done once, and it's something you should absolutely be trying if you think you're destined for second place. Next we have Fog's Rework. It's now a 2-mana card that halves the power of ranged units instead of subtracting 10 from the power of ranged units for 1 mana. I'm not very sure as to whether or not this is a buff or a nerf, to be honest with you. I think a lot depends on whether or not you round up or round down this number. Very specifically, I'm worried about the Cupid interaction. If my opponent's Cupid can still attack and mess up my whole board, this is going to be a nerf, I think. It was never anything I wanted to buy, but I was willing to buy it at times, and now that might be gone too. So I'll have to try this out and see how it performs, but overall this is one of the few changes they've made that I'm really not on board with. I'm not sure it has the impact that they want it to have. They're moving Phoenix Feather into the 7-drop treasure spot. This is probably the correct move, as it was so powerful that it was almost always the correct choice when presented to you. While that still might be true, Excalibur though, it will be seen much less often. And when a single card has this big of an impact on who wins the round, I think it's good that it gets seen a little bit less. So it hurts. I loved Phoenix Feather. It felt great. I loved buying it, but I think this is the correct thing to do for balance purposes. Next, we have Summoning Portal. It was moved from a 6-drop to a 5-drop. Not sure I've ever gotten a meaningful impact from this card. Token generator builds are tough to really churn out a bunch of tokens with, to be honest. Combat RNG really has to work out just so that you're able to get the openings for all 3 pigs if your 3 pigs dies. And your comp summons a lot of tokens, right? So you're working against that synergy. I think moving this to 5 will make it easier to try to craft a comp to abuse it, and that is a great thing. But how many baby bears do I really need to actually make this worth buying? I honestly don't know. One thing I do know is that the treasure felt unplayable at 6. But if this doesn't make it good or make it viable, we're going to need to find another way to buff it. Maybe +2/+2 for each character summon this brawl? That might get out of hand fast. Next, we have Fool's Gold. +4 gold each round instead of 3, and your shop stops selling spells. This is definitely a trade-off, so I like that they're trying to make it a little more valuable to pick up this treasure, but the spells in this game are so good, so impactful, so strong, that it just feels like this is always going to be a, I guess I'll buy it or I guess I'll pick it kind of a treasure when no other viable options are presented to you that work for your composition. But it is just such a steep price. I just would almost always rather have the spells. That puts this treasure in a difficult spot, but I like this change to kind of bring the cost more in line with the benefit. Last and certainly least among our changes today is a rewording of Ruby Slippers. It still saves you 2 health for every loss you suffer while holding the treasure. Some people must have been confused about the wording, or there must have been an action or an interaction that was kind of ambiguous that I'm unaware of, and it needed the wording to be a little more clear. I don't know. Same exact card, so fine with me. That just about does it. I have noticed some UI improvements and art changes, which are always welcome. Another great patch from the developers here. The meta feels like it's in a great spot at the moment, so I'm glad there's not any major balance changes or balance swings this time around. Seems likely we can expect a patch every Monday night for the foreseeable future, at least during early access. It's going to be a great way to keep the game feeling fresh and also letting us see their development progress as things go. I think that's one of the most exciting things about being a part of early access. I'll play a lot of games in early access that I wouldn't normally play if they were fully released, because I just think it's so fun to watch them iterate on it. Especially this development team, they're so receptive to feedback and comments and interactions and suggestions. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. That's going to wrap things up for today. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below telling me your favorite change from this patch. And if you want to get notified when my videos go live, make sure you ring that bell to get the notifications. Deathblow signing off. See you in my lobbies.